Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session in sustainable cheese production. My name is Rreze Masha, and today I represent Technical and Scientific Department of Friend of the Earth. To present a success story and a case study is Mr. Lorenzo from Antica Latteria Ducale, a special honor to have him today in this session. In today's agenda, we will cover the topics as below: the global cheese market, data and trends, potential environmental and social impacts of cheese production, sustainable cheese production and certifications, friend of the earth standard. In case study, Antica Latteria Ducale, sustainability, tourism and education, an opportunity for producers. And the last one, future trends, possible scenarios. World Sustainability Organization is the only organization proposing two consumer-friendly logos which can potentially certify sustainability for the whole food range, seafood and agro, as well as non-food products and services. WCO delivers the certifications based on 30 years experience in the field, in full independence and by means of audits of accredited certification bodies. World Sustainability Organization activity is in international scope, and it's multi-product. The requirements are strict and are proved by all benchmark, but our price offer is very affordable and accessible to small scale and also artisanal producers. All standards include social accountability and always more important issue in food and non-food production. For more, later we will speak specifically for sustainable farming. Just a curiosity, in 1953, the bank executives decided to start accepting giant Parmigiano Reggiano wheels as security from local farmers seeking small businesses loans. It is an excellent arrangement due to the nature of cheese production. The bank doesn't keep Parmesan in a vault together with other valuables. They build a special warehouse where the cheese is stored, and a special team and the bank manager take care of Parmesan from the moment it gets to the warehouse until it is returned to the farmer between 1.5 to 3 years later. The bank manager says they protect the producer's investment and calls this concept from coal to the bank. This is just to mention how important Parmigiano Reggiano cheese is in Italy. Cheese is a nutrient-dense dairy food providing proteins, fats, and minerals. Some hard-block cheeses that contain little moisture, like Parmigiano Reggiano, are easily stored and travel well because they do not require refrigeration. Cheese is distinguished by the type of milk produced, by its texture, location where it produces, and so on. Cheese flavor is affected by climate, temperature, diet of the animal, and when the animals were milked. So even the same type of cheese tastes different when produced in different areas of the world. This is why, under Italian law, only cheese produced in the area of Bologna, Mantua, Modena, or Parma, as may be labeled Parmigiano Reggiano, and European law classifies the name as well as the translation Parmesan as a protected designation of origin. The global cheese market has reached a value of about 88 billion in 2022. The market is further expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 7.8% in the forecast period of 2023 till 2028, to reach a value of approximately $138 billion by 2028. The past 2 years has shaken up consumer behaviors and attitudes, and cheese consumers are no exception. To better understand the long-term impact, studies have been conducted during different studies involving thousands of individuals in countries around the world. For example, the results show 6 trends that cheese producers can expect going forward along with a clearer picture of the cheese consumers shaping today's market. Pandemic has boosted consumption. Consumers say that their consumption has increased as they spent more time at home during the pandemic, and the new trends of smart working, which, by the way, is also a certification scheme at Friend of the Earth. Globally, more than a third, 36% of the participants in this report, stated that their consumption has increased. Consumption occasionally increased. More time spent in home has also impacted positively on consumption occasions, which are up across the board, particularly in Asia Pacific. Cheese is consumed every day and everywhere through the globe. Taste and health also are the main consumption drivers. Cheese is widely seen by the consumers as healthy, with 56% of respondents making this association. It's also seen as a very nutritious, high in protein and calcium. Indeed, it is the healthiest, is cited in the number 2 reason for consumption, although this is as far exceeded by tastiness. Plant-based cheese also, it is on the rise. The plant-based cheese market has been transformed. Like, for example, in 2018, it wasn't very much known. Today, it remains a niche product, but one of high potential for growth as awareness grows strongly. Transparency is the key. Quality and safety are important to consumers everywhere. Interest in the cheese production process and a preference for natural ingredients are also very high. Environmental friendly products and packing is valued. Sustainable production and environmental packaging matters in highest rate of participants. Potential environmental and social impacts of cheese production. The impact categories considered on cheese production are climate change, acidification, water depletion, eutrophication, and resource depletion. Different studies also include single score categories as a cumulative energy demand and water footprint. As a future trend, it is expected a continuous search for new energy sources, cycling of water, and improving efficiency in the use of natural resources, minimizing environmental impacts with a focus on clean production approaches, industrial ecology, and circular economy. From the consumer's point of view, environmentally friendly labeling opens up the possibility of stimulating practices and products that contribute to improving the sustainability of cheese production. A study carried in northern Italy and published in October 2022 regarding the impact of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, the environmental impact of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese was quantified, and results that even small environmental improvements to the production, this cheese supply chain can bring substantial improvements to the sustainability of the food market because of the widespread demand on the global market of Parmigiano Reggiano and of its chance attracting consumers who are very sensitive to environmental problems. Potential environmental and social impacts of cheese production. Just to mention some of them, and most important are during the cheese production, the main impacts are from farming, such as feed production impact, animal waste, water consumption, animal welfare, social accountability, and gas emissions. From processing, the most important are waste, energy consumption in producing, and preserving social accountability. Sustainability standards and certifications are voluntarily guidelines used by producers, manufacturers, traders, retailers, and service providers to demonstrate their commitment to good sustainability standards and demonstrate their commitment to good environmental, social ethic, and food safety practices. The Friend of the Earth label on a products mean that 90% of the product ingredients were sourced from agriculture or farm operation that protect farmers, forests, wildlife, water and energy sources, local communities using less chemicals. Friend of the Earth standard is developed following the FAO SAFA Sustainability Assessment of Food and Agriculture Systems guidelines. The requirements are taken into consideration by the certification standard. Um, the main ones are integrated production, respect for animal welfare, energy efficiency, optimization of resources, and respect for the conditions of the workers employed throughout the production process. The main requirements that companies must meet to obtain Friend of the Earth certification for sustainable farming include a well-organized environmental management procedure, a system of protection of the ecosystem, and implementation of areas dedicated to the conservation of wild flora and fauna, the reduction of use of chemicals and synthetic substances for the production, respect for animal welfare beyond the limits of the law, periodic checking on the state of the structures and animals, psychosocial conditions for stress evaluation, the rational use of water and soil preservation, the use of manure and output as fertilizers and to produce energy or biogas, control of greenhouse gas emissions as the implementation of systems to reduce them, social responsibility. For more questions and answers, we will be here to answer them and to explain them. But now I will pass my word to Mr. Lorenzo to show us his success story and all his experiences during the certification and all his experience with the sustainability and the future trends. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Okay, thank you. So welcome to everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Lorenzo Balzarini. I'm here today to represent Antica Latteria Ducale, and thanks first of all to Friend of the Earth for the invite and for the opportunity to bring our case study in terms of sustainable cheese production. So let me just start by briefly introducing Antica Latteria Ducale. We are Parmigiano Reggiano producers, but with the peculiarity of running the full production cycle. So going from the crops, the growing of the crops, to the final ripened products, which is sold to the consumers. Of course, this comes through our dairy farm, which is based in Modena, within the typical area of production of Parmigiano Reggiano. Before going into more details of our farm, I would like to share with you this brief thought in terms of sustainability, since we're here to talk about sustainable cheese production. And for many businesses, sustainability is something that has come about in the past few years. But really, if we take a moment and think about this for Parmigiano Reggiano, we can see that this is not the case. And why it is so? First of all, because Parmigiano Reggiano is a PDO product. PDO stands for Protected Denomination of Origin, which in brief, it means that it is a product that whose production is regulated by a set of rules set by the consortium of the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese producers, which has the goal of keeping the production as close as possible to what it was in its original form. Today, this means, of course, that the innovation that is coming in needs to be balanced with the traditional aspect, making sure that innovation doesn't take over tradition, which is what happens in most businesses as we see them today. Um, Another key aspect is culture and lifestyle, because Parmigiano Reggiano production is rooted in Emilia-Romagna territory, and even more so is rooted in the rural culture and lifestyle, in which most of what we would call today sustainability best practices were common sense for the people working and living here more than 700 years ago, which was when Parmigiano was first produced. So really, in the same way that we do with the production methods, we can see today that staying close to the traditional and to the origin of this product, we go in a direction which we can call sustainable today, and that is bringing benefits both on the environmental level, on the social level, and the economical level as well. And this was true 100 years ago and is true also today, we think. So after this quick thoughts, I'd like to take you through our business and how we operate. So here you can see a quick glimpse in this aerial shot of Antica Latteria Ducale. And as you can see already from the picture, it's quite easy to capture how the full production cycle is kept in house by cultivating the fields surrounding the farm with organic farming. The forage produced in these fields is then fed to our cows in the dairy farm. And lastly, we take care also of the cheese making, its aging, as well as the sale of the cheese to the consumers. And since 2018, we decided to join Friend of the Earth, and we did so because we were already in charge of all the production factors. So we were already overseeing all the production factors, and because we thought that the sustainability aspect was something that we were already doing and something we believe in, but we really needed to do more to communicate this to consumer and to external stakeholders to our company. So thanks to the Friend of the Earth certification, we're able to say that our Parmigiano Reggiano comes from sustainable farming and agriculture. But now let's go into more details of the several steps of production that lead at the end to Parmigiano. So everything starts in the fields surrounding our farm, which have been cultivated with organic farming for over 20 years. The goal for us is to be self-sufficient in terms of forage production, since forage is one of the highest impacting factor on the milk quality and on the cheese quality. So we think that by producing this forage in-house, we have a better possibility to check on the quality and making sure it's at its best. Besides organic farming, we have also implemented eco-farming practices for several years. These practices mainly consist in preserving natural woods which were naturally present in the area, but across time we have too often see that in the flat areas these natural woods, they have been sacrificed in order to make room for more crops. We think that, and science also tells us that these natural woods have a great role in preserving biodiversity, both on the animal level and vegetal level, because they provide shelter for natural wildlife present in the fields, and also because they protect the crops from pollution. So besides this, we fertilize our crops with manure, organic manure from our livestock, and in this way we make sure that we nourish the soil with all the nutrients, and especially with the organic fraction that it needs in order to provide the best crops. So moving on, we have our dairy farm, where we have about 300 cows of two different breeds, Holstein and Brown Swiss. We have found after several years what we think is the right mix for us in terms of the two breeds. One producing a higher quantity of milk, the other producing less milk, but of a higher quality in terms of cheese making. And this has allowed us to have a good balance in terms of quantity and quality of the milk. Another key aspect for us is the animal well-being, where we make sure to fulfill and go beyond the current standards, because we really believe that the animal well-being is in the best interest of the cows, of course, but is also in our best interest, because we know that animals, when they are well, they reward us with good quality milk, which allow us to then produce the best possible Parmigiano Reggiano. So talking about the production of Parmigiano Reggiano, the last step take place in our in-house cheese factory, where we transform into cheese exclusively our own milk. And this is done in a 0 kilometer fashion, we can say, because the milk is carried over to the dairy, which is right next to the farm, and therefore it doesn't undergo any stress linked to transportation, and all the hazards linked to this stage are reduced to the minimum. In our cheese factory, we have a small production of Parmigiano Reggiano, which of course implies a higher cost per kilogram of milk that we transform. But on the other hand, it allows us to have strict control on all the stages and to ensure our consumer the highest possible quality, but even more a constant quality, since by producing the milk ourselves, we have oversee also on that stage. So this was a bit an overview on what is the current situation, but I'd like to take you through very quickly also on what is next for us, because as any business, also a farm can't allow to stay still in the face of today's challenges. So for us, the goal going forward is to enhance and the use of the available resources and strengthen this closed loop production chain in which we strongly believe. And a key area in doing so is the one of energy self-sufficiency. So more specifically in terms of production of renewable and clean energy. And we plan to do so by investing in a solar energy plant that will be placed on the roof of our barns, and by using the sunlight we will be able to reduce our current energy consumption. And at the same time, we plan to install a micro biogas plant that is going to produce electricity and heat from exclusively cow's manure. So by allowing us to make better use of what currently is mostly a waste used for sure for fertilize our fields, but in the future is gonna allow us to produce also heat and energy. And both these innovation are going to help us to reduce our emissions and to significantly reduce also our overall carbon footprint. So so far we've talked about our production cycle, but there is a key aspect that is still missing, and it involves our consumers, our customers. We mentioned before that we try to have a direct relationship with them as much as possible because we think this is the most rewarding model for our business. But this brings also several opportunities. Um, the first one is the one of being able to educate and informing consumers about what we do, because we don't have anything that we are not willing to share with our consumer. And we think that by educating them, we are also able to promote more conscious consumption choices from their side. So when they buy Parmigiano Reggiano cheese or another cheese, they are more aware of what's behind that cheese and how that cheese has been produced. And eventually, we think this generates a behavior that is rewarding both for the consumers because they are informed about what they're buying, but also for the producers that are rewarded on an economical level on all the choices, on the ethical choices that they've made down the line to get to the final product. So we think this is besides not having any intermediaries in the sale of our cheese, we think this is another key benefit that possibly go beyond the pure economical return. Lastly, I would like to just touch on a further opportunity which we are tapping in, and I think it's gonna come into play even more in the coming years, and is the one linked to food tourism. We've been able to see in firsthand a strong increase in the demand for visit and guided tour in our farm. And this is, of course, linked to the increasing role that food is playing nowadays as a tourist attraction. And specifically in the case of Parmigiano, a key role is played by the link between the cheese and its territory, where we are seeing visitors and tourists that are willing to buy their cheese directly from the hands of the people that have made it and not somewhere else, because they see a higher value in this. And eventually this is really turning out right now, and as I said, I think even more in the future, in an additional opportunity for cheese producers, because on one hand the land is becoming a tourist attraction, but the product is even more so. So it's not just a cheese, but is everything that goes with it. This was it from my side, and I hope I've been able to take you through with this presentation and with the images a bit of what we do. So I want to thank you for your attention, and of course this was just a glimpse, and I would like to say that you're all welcome to come and see us. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now in the chat that you have available on this platform, or to take down the contacts you can see here, and ask any questions that you might have now or in the future here. Thank you.
I see that there are some questions, and maybe some of them can be answered by Lorenzo also. But I'll start with George, who is asking that if he understands. He says that I can offer this to Manchego cheese in Spain. Actually, sustainable certification is for all agro products that implement as the criteria that we mentioned in the presentation above. If any information is needed or clarification for the criteria, we can have one-to-one meetings, or any questions you can make us in person. There is also another question. Maybe this is for Lorenzo. Do you think that consumers are willing to pay more sustainable cheese?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and a question we ask ourselves, and I think the answer is yes. because when consumers are more informed about the product they're buying and how it's made, especially when they know that it is made in a way that is respectful of the environment, of the people, they are willing to pay more for it, but also because they understand that it can be more expensive to produce that product. So I think that especially for small producers like us, this is a very interesting opportunity because it helps to educate consumers about the production methods, about what can be the higher cost needed to ensure a higher quality. So I think, yes.
And I think that this also answered the last question, that how consumers are responding to the certified cheese. What I would want to say is that I would thank very much Lorenzo for joining us, and thank all the person who participants participated our webinar, and I hope this will not be our last, together with Antica Latteria Ducale. And also, what you want to end your last word?
Yeah, sure. As I said, thank you to Friend of the Earth for inviting us, and it's always a great pleasure to share our story and to share of what we do. Of course, it's not the same as seeing it in first hand as we do with people that come to see us, but it's still a great opportunity of doing so with people from all over the world. So again, thanks for the invite and looking forward to the next opportunity.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Subscribe to our channel to get more content about sustainability.